Hang on if you're with me on Twitch. Just let me get this other broadcast started. One more time. We'll say part 2. There we go. And we'll start the broadcast. There we go. All right, you guys back. Sorry about that. Periscope kind of started just freaking out. I was getting all kinds of weird colors on my screen, and then I asked you guys if you were still there, and no one commented. All right. Hey, Baltimore, how's it going? Okay, so we're not going to do all the introductions and all that again. However, if you are joining us for the first time, my name's Terry White. I'm a tech scoper at night. I scope Adobe. I scope gadgets. I scope gear. I scope tips. So Periscope is jealous of Twitch, and Twitch stayed up the whole time, by the way. So if you're just joining or just watching the second part of this, the replay, I am doing a dual broadcast. So I'm also showing this on twitch.tv/Terry L. White, as well as Periscope. So what I was just finishing up with is I'd shown all the retouching in part 1. In this part, we're going to talk a little bit more about the pressure sensitivity. So what I was just saying when I lost you guys is that I had, Periscope kind of freaked out on me. But I do love the watercolor brushes. So let's go back. And because watercolor is fun, it's like finger painting. That part I can play around with. That part I don't feel so afraid of. So let's go ahead and just tap. I'm going to pick a color here. Kind of, let's do a nice blue there. And the cool thing about the watercolors is Adobe Photoshop Sketch mimics wet paint. So even though there's no real water, the software is mimicking what wet paint would continue to do. It will continue to run until it dries. So for example, if I take the pencil and I just create a nice stroke there, we can see at the bottom of the stroke here where it's continuing to move around a little bit. It's continuing to stay wet. So for example, if I were to take another stroke and go across, you can kind of see it blending and fading out. Sketch is free. You can see it fading out. All of the Adobe mobile apps are free. So just head to the App Store and download them. So you can see it blending out right there in the middle where the colors crossed. Now, let's undo that last stroke. And again, it is technology, so it knows it can undo it, even though it was giving you the ability to look like it was wet. But now, for example, I can go ahead and, what was I about to do? I can switch colors. So again, let's go to a different color here. I want a nice red. See if I've got a nice pretty red there. There's a red. So we'll choose that red. And again, if I were to put the color next to it or on top of it, the colors will start to blend. The two colors will start to mix. And again, they would stay wet. Now it's going to stay wet forever until I actually tell it not to be wet anymore. You notice the fan icon on the bottom of the colors there? If I tap the fan, I just dried it. So one click, dried it, technology, awesome. You can use Adobe Illustrator Draw. So Illustrator Draw is another free app. So let's go ahead and undo this. And in this case, I'm going to change my color one more time before I start using the red. I'm actually going to use white. And what I'm going to use with the white, even though I'm painting on a white canvas, I'm going to butt that white up against, I'm a fan of the fan, me too. I'm going to butt that up against, odorless paint, no paint thinner, no mess to clean up. Sketch is awesome. And I'm just going to butt it up right against that edge so we can kind of see the edge of it right there blending in. Now, all I did was just put a white, Terry fan, thanks. Put a white stroke along that. So we'll switch the color one more time. We'll grab the red now. And again, just kind of knowing where that stroke is. Too much, hang on, too much. Undo, undo. Let's come out a little bit this way, and there we go. So we'll just blend that in. Now I don't think I got it as close as I want, so I'm going to come back down. There we go. That's what I wanted on that edge. Okay, so now, for example, if I want the bottom and the top of it to be kind of more straight, I guess, or cut off, what I can do is switch tools. And I believe this is the eraser tool, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm not a regular, yep, it is. And so I can go ahead and just erase that and get a nice hard edge on the bottom. And there we go, something more like that. Same thing at the top here. Something like that. And again, I am certainly no expert when it comes to painting or sketching. And if this tool didn't have the watercolor option, I still would not be using it. I just love the watercolor options. So again, I can go in, back to the watercolor brush, and I can hit the fan, which it looks like that's already dry. Okay, so we're good. And we're good to go at this point. So now at this point, what can I do with this? I can, coolest finger painting ever, and it's free, no mess. So I can go ahead and once again, I can send this over to Photoshop and work on the desktop, copy it to the clipboard, send it to Illustrator to work on the desktop, save a Photoshop file to Creative Cloud. I was drawing a blank on the name there. Or if I just want to use it, if I just want to share this out, I can hit the share button and I get my iOS sharing. So I can share it on Facebook, Twitter, save it to the camera roll. So if I want to use that, I can save it on the camera roll, and now it's on the camera roll. But because that is a sketch project, and there's the one I was playing with earlier, so I kind of like them both. Actually, I might like my first one better. That means that anything that can see sketch can also bring that in. So for example, if I go launch, for example, Adobe Comp CC, and we were playing around with this earlier, and I was playing around with this even afterwards, but let's go ahead and actually probably can't do it on this one. So let's make a new one. And we'll make a new format. This time we'll do 1080 by 1080. All right, save the format. And that's a nice square Instagram size format there. And so at this point, if I wanted to post this on Instagram, I could then go in and say, well, let's bring something in. And by the way, I can tell it where to put it. I want to put it right here. So I just made a big placeholder in that spot. And now I can go in and say, where do I want to bring this from? I want to bring it from my files. And at this point, I can even say, bring it from Photoshop Sketch. You know, somewhere there's a menu there. There's it. So I can bring it in from Illustrator Draw, Illustrator Line, Photoshop, or Lightroom, and Photoshop Sketch. So I'm already on Photoshop Sketch. So it sees the one that I just did. I can go ahead and, I don't know why I get two of these, but I'll go ahead and bring in one of them. And there it is. Open it. And then that comes in transparent into Comp CC. So I can adjust the crop rectangle here. Maybe. There we go. And now if I want to put some text here, I can. So for example, put text there, put text there, and I can say whatever I want at this point. And so for example, we love Paris. All right. So now we have that. We can, of course, make that whatever size we want. Pick it up, move it around, put it wherever we want. Pick this up, put it around, move it wherever we want. And, of course, change that to whatever we want, including changing fonts. So, or colors. So if I want to make that a different color, I can. Actually, let's make that a blue. There we go. Actually, I don't like that blue. Being picky. Sorry. Let's go back to our themes. Let's get a different blue. That's a better blue. And of course, we can also change the font. All right, so whatever font I want to use. We're not limited to just the ones I'm looking at here, but these are some good ones. We can also add a font from Typekit, use any font we want. So I can see what it looks like in Lust. Actually, that looks pretty good. So we've got our type there. Make our type bigger, spread it out more. And then we can make this say whatever we want as well. From the USA. All right. So at this point, I can share it. Same places we talked about before. Save it to the camera roll, and then we can go ahead and, of course, switch over to Instagram and share it on Instagram, or send it to InDesign, Illustrator, or Photoshop on the desktop. So just playing around with that. All right. So last but not least, someone asked about Lightroom, so I'll just bring it up real quick. Lightroom Mobile, right here. And in Lightroom Mobile, these are all the collections that were synced from my desktop, which of course more and more images are coming in. So for example, let's see, what do I want to play with here real quick? There's only 2 images in there. I need something more. All right, let's look at the Hong Kong images. So these are the images I took from Hong Kong. So while I'm here in Lightroom on my iPad Pro, I can go in and, hey, how's it going, Diamond Claw on Twitch? I can go in and I can swipe up as a pick. Hang on, we can swipe up as a pick, or we can do one image. There we go. I want speed rating combined. That way I get picks on the left side and star ratings on the right side. So I can swipe over to the next photo, swipe over to the next photo, pinch and zoom, take a look at the photo. I can also do any adjustments I want. These non-destructive adjustments will also sync back to the desktop. So it's already pretty well adjusted, but if I wanted to do something else, hang on, swiped over by mistake there. If I want to do something else, like maybe more saturation, I can pump up the saturation of this photo. Again, all from my finger. So that's a look at iPad Pro, Apple Pencil, Adobe mobile apps, which are free, and most of them already taking advantage of the iPad Pro size as well as pressure sensitivity. Can you buy just Lightroom CC? You could, but it'd be cheaper not to. Lightroom CC is in the photography plan for $9.99 a month. It would cost you $20 a month just for Lightroom. So you wouldn't want to do that. If you wanted to buy Lightroom 6, you could, but then you're not going to get all the cool new features as they come out with CC. So Lightroom CC, part of the photography plan, which also gives you, if you have a crack, you know, hey, you're stealing, but that's you. Lightroom CC is a part of Lightroom CC is part of the photography plan, which also includes Photoshop CC. All right. Doesn't include mobile. Well, the mobile stuff's free, so you go download it from your mobile devices. If you're talking about Lightroom mobile, if it's part of the student plan, it should include Lightroom mobile as well. I haven't heard that it doesn't. Cocaine, of course. Will the 53 pencil work pressure sensitive? I have no idea. You'd have to ask those folks. I've never seen that device. I've never seen it. I've heard of it, but I don't know. Someone just said it doesn't. They've tried. So there you are. All right. Any other questions, comments, opinions, or feelings before we go? Can I talk about Lightroom in the browser? What would you like to know? about Lightroom in the browser? I can show it. All right, so someone on Twitch asked about Lightroom in the browser, so let's take a quick look. Actually, my browser window's over here, so let me go ahead and open it up real quick. So Lightroom Mobile is also, it has a component that most people don't know about. It has Lightroom Web. So just let me make sure I'm signed in before, nope, I'm not. So let me sign in first. Oh, I am signed in, okay. All right, so let's bring this over so you guys can see it. So all I did in my web browser was I went to lightroom.adobe.com and I made sure I was signed in with my Adobe ID. And once you're signed in, then you get access to those same exact photos that I was talking about on my iPad and on my iPhone and on Lightroom Mobile. So for example, if I go to photos, guess what I see? I see the same layouts that I saw a minute ago. So for example, we were in the Hong Kong section. So now we're in the Hong Kong section. And by the way, the edit I just did is already applied. I can already see the saturation here. If I wanted to apply a different edit to one of these, for example, I can go here. What's also new about Lightroom on the web, and by the way, the pick flag that I just did is there. If I want to go ahead and say that this is a 5-star photo, I can do that. All of that syncs back up to Lightroom Mobile or Creative Cloud, back down to the desktop, over to the iPad, anywhere else. So for example, let's say, just for the sake of example, I go into the edit mode, which is also new in Lightroom Web. And in the edit mode, once that photo loads, hey, T-Blue, you're just in time for the wrap up. We're talking about Lightroom Web. And I saw ping or PNG. I'm not sure what you were asking. What about ping files? Convert ping files to what or from what? Are you saying convert ping files to what? Can you send back to Photoshop on the iPad from PC with changes intact? Yes. All right, this is a big file. It's taking a second to load this. I may have to bail on it because I'm running out of time. All right, we'll pick a smaller one. It's that Pano, no, it's huge. Hang on. No, I don't want that one. We'll see what happens though. If it loads, we'll take it. If it doesn't, we'll go back. All right, we're not going to wait for that one. All right, going back one more time. Photos and Hong Kong. And we'll pick a different one this time. Let's pick this one. And we'll edit it. I'm not sure why this is taking. It only goes by once. All right, so the person asked this on Twitch. If you could imagine, once this loads, you would have your same, or many of your same editing controls that you have in Lightroom on your mobile devices here on the web. Any changes you make here automatically sync back to all the places we just talked about. So no matter where you make your adjustments are made in all the places where that photo exists. Question about recommend a textbook on what? Imagine if you will, I know. I'm not sure why Lightroom Web is taking so long. It could be all the bandwidth I'm using too for periscoping and twitching and everything else I'm doing, but it shouldn't take this long. All right, we'll let it go. One or two more questions. It's content aware anticipation. Will the new pad replace your laptop? Oh, here it comes. Okay. Will the new iPad replace my laptop? No, because my job requires that I show desktop software too. So I don't get to pick and choose, oh, I'm only going to show mobile apps. I still have to present all the desktop apps too. So I can't ever give up my laptop or give up a computer, at least not in the near future. Okay, so now that this image is here, the next thing we'll do, for example, I could go in and just for a quick adjustment, let's just drop all the saturation out. We'll turn it into a black and white. All right, so now that I've turned this into a black and white, I can say that I'm done, save and exit. And it should be rendering those changes. Hopefully that won't take as long as it took to open it. And it didn't, good. And now we're back to the grid, so we can go ahead and see them. And now that change was just metadata. It did not have to sync the photo. So for example, if I go back to, where is it here? If I go back to, there it is, Hong Kong. And I switch back so you guys can see it. Let's go back there. And let's hide others. That image on my iPad is already adjusted. There it is. So no matter where I make the change, if I make the change on the iPad, it's on the web, it's on my desktop. If I make the change on my desktop, it's on the web, it's on my iPad. If I make the change on the web, it's on the iPad, it's on the desktop. If I make the, you get the point. No matter where I make the change, the update will happen. And if I don't like that change, if I go back to my adjustments, and I say reset it, back to the basic tones, or all, or whatever I want to open. Actually, let's get out of that. Let's go back to basic tones. I can put it back to the way it was. And now that adjustment is syncing back up to Creative Cloud and back up to Lightroom Mobile. So for example, if we go back to the web, and of course I haven't refreshed the page yet, but if I refresh the page, there it is in color again. So these non-destructive adjustments are made wherever you make them. So does that answer your Lightroom web question on Twitch? I hope so, because that's all I can have time to do right now. So guys, we're way over the time I really wanted to spend on this, but I'm glad you guys had some great questions. Where do you store your pencil for convenience? And don't tell me there's an Archon mount for that. Yes, I have the new Archon mount pencil. No, there's no Archon mount for that. I haven't had to store it yet. I just got it yesterday. So as far as one cool thing I have been doing, though, if I can find the adapter real quick, here it is. So I'll show it to you on the camera. This is just a regular iPhone dock. And if I do this right, nope, wrong way. This adapter comes with the pencil for charging. And what I do is when I'm not using it, take the top off and just dock it and let it charge. So that's what I've been doing today because I just got it yesterday. The charge lasts for 12 hours. If you charge it for 15 seconds on a low, like let's say you're running out of power and it comes out with a message, charge it for 15 seconds. That'll give you another 30 minutes of use. So they did some great power management with that. There's no indicator on the pencil whatsoever. There's no LEDs. There's no way to know how much power you have. So I'm thinking, how am I going to know how much power this thing's got? But then I remember in your notification center, it's like on my iPhone, it shows the status of my Apple Watch, how much battery I've got left in the watch. So I thought, if I go here, there it is. It shows how much charge I've got in the Apple Pencil. So, and here, you can't see it. So let's switch so you can see it. There we are. So the Apple Pencil is showing me, showing in the status right here for how much battery's left. So 89%. And even if it's not docked, so we put the cap back on, because it's a Bluetooth device, that will always show you the space. Or, I'm sorry, show you the charge. Now, what if you're out somewhere and you don't have your adapter, you didn't bring the charger? You can just use the lightning cable or adapter that's already built in and plug it into the side of your iPad. So it'll steal some juice from your iPad to charge it long enough so you can use it. So lots of cool ways of charging the pencil. Again, the adapter comes with it. It also comes with an extra tip in case you wear this one down. Trying to put that in the right camera. There. Comes with another tip. Comes with the adapter. And even without the adapter, it can plug into the side of the iPad and charge from that. So nice engineering behind it. All right, guys. That's it. That's all I got time for today. So with that said, and here, let me check Twitch one more time. Nothing going on Twitch with questions. So with that said, thanks guys for watching. Glad you enjoyed this setup where I got a chance to do something that I'm sure you've never seen on Periscope before. A multiple camera scope where I'm using multiple cameras. I'm using my desktop. I'm using all kinds of stuff. And we'll do this again now that I figured out the best way to do it. Even with green screen. Green screen, don't forget. All right. Take care. We'll catch you on the next one. I'll scope about something else tomorrow. We'll talk. With that said, thanks for watching on Twitch. I'm going to say goodbye to Twitch first.